So I wasn't going to review the AirPods Pro 2, but as it turns out, that would have been a huge mistake. So there were two reasons I wasn't going to review the AirPods Pro 2. Firstly, because I thought the unveiling of these new earbuds at the Far Out event was probably the most boring part of the entire show. It was a bit like, here's your new AirPods Pro, we've fiddled with the noise cancelling, and you can now attach a lanyard. The second reason I wasn't going to review these earbuds is because I just couldn't be bothered and I didn't really think you cared. Well, I ran a poll on YouTube yesterday and you do care. So I'm an idiot, I should have done this right from the start, and I'm glad I have done now because these are, spoiler, amazing. Now, you'd be hard-pressed to find any difference in the look and feel between the AirPods Pro 2 and the original first generation. And yes, I did have mine engraved. I have absolutely no idea why. In fact, you really have to nitpick to find anything at all. The only thing I've spotted is the sensors are in slightly different positions, which you can see here. And that's it, really. They're pretty much, I think, identical in terms of dimensions. But this is good news because AirPods Pro have always been a really good fit for me and I've never really heard too many people say anything different. And before I get into the good stuff, there are two things which, one of them isn't that annoying, but one of them is annoying. They still have lightning. So we do not get USB-C with these. That was one thing I was desperately waiting for because, again, Apple is the only headphone manufacturer in this studio who doesn't give me USB-C for charging. It's so annoying. The good thing is that at least these are wireless, so you can charge these wirelessly. Secondly, you don't get the lanyard in the box, which is unsurprising given that this is Apple, and also they don't make one. So basically, just quickly, you get a little metal loop thing here on the new AirPods Pro 2 case, and you can put a lanyard through that, a little bit like the old iPod Touch, which is quite a nice way of customizing it for yourself, but you do have to buy it yourself. The good news is that Apple doesn't make them, because if they did, they'd cost a ridiculous amount. Thankfully, they've left that to third parties, so you can get any kind of lanyard and attach it to this, but you won't get one in the box. In terms of the good stuff, the case is a nice upgrade. And yes, it looks identical to the previous case, but they have done some very interesting stuff with it. So apart from that lanyard connection, you do get a speaker on this, which is used for notifications like charging, taking off charge. But more importantly, if you lose your AirPods Pro, which happens quite regularly for me, you can at least try and locate them with that speaker. Also, Apple didn't seem to make any note of this during the event, but this is actually now water and sweat resistant, so you can't go swimming with it. Obviously, you don't want to submerge this thing, but you can get it wet. And one thing I always worried about with previous AirPods Pro cases is getting them wet in my pocket. So if you're walking the dog, starts raining, I'm always worried about the case. Not anymore. They've included an extra tip size as well. So previously you got large, medium and small for the silicone things that go in your ears. Now we have an extra small one as well, which is, I have no idea why they've done that, but that's very nice. The only thing to bear in mind, which I learnt this morning, is that the previous generation AirPods Pro tips aren't compatible with AirPods Pro 2. No idea why, but don't say I didn't warn you. You can also set up personalised spatial audio on the AirPods Pro 2. And this involves you holding your phone like the Face ID thing and doing kind of this with it. And then doing this really strange thing where you have to show your phone to your ear and blindly take video footage of your ear so the phone can do something with it to personalise your spatial audio. I have no idea if this has made any difference to spatial audio because spatial audio was fantastic anyway. But I'm guessing that you care about two things primarily, the sound and the noise cancelling. Starting with the sound, this is what completely threw me with AirPods Pro 2. I was expecting more of the same, perhaps just a little tweak, a slight difference to make it slightly better. No, it is so much better. These AirPods Pro 2 really are next level. In fact, for me, they've revealed that the AirPods Pro first generation weren't much cop. These just sound fuller, the highs are clearer, the mids aren't too boxy, there's much more sub-bass without it being too overbearing. And if you A/B test them with the previous generation, they sound harsh in comparison. These are just a much more pleasing and, more importantly, exciting listen. Now, sound is very, very subjective, so you may listen to these and think, what's he talking about? But the way I look at this is that the AirPods Pro were fine. They did the job, they were just Great headphones for most types of music, you could get away with them. I then tried the Oppo Enco X. I talked about these in a recent video, which I'll link to above. They wiped the floor with Apple's earbuds. These are as good as the Oppos, 100%. And no, we didn't get any kind of lossless audio codec from Apple this time around, but really, in hindsight, you're never going to notice that on earbuds like this. That would have been a nice thing to talk about from my perspective, but for most people, including me, it doesn't matter. All that does matter is that the H2 chip in these has done some serious work on the sound. I'm so impressed. Right, noise cancelling. This is the other reason people buy AirPods Pro 2. I'm going to put them in now, and I'm just going to turn on transparency mode to begin with and talk about that. So transparency mode is when you let the outside world in. And this is useful if you're walking around and want to be aware of your surroundings, but it's also very handy when making telephone calls. Now with the AirPods Pro 2, I think the world filters in much more naturally. And the best way to describe that is that when I'm talking now, it just sounds like I'm talking. If I put the previous generation AirPods Pro in, I can still hear myself talking, but it's a bit more muddy. It doesn't sound quite as natural. In fact, it feels like you've got them in your ears, which obviously you have. Whereas with the new version, they very quickly just kind of disappear. So transparency mode, absolutely amazing. Noise cancelling though, well, Apple says it's going to be roughly up to two times better than AirPods Pro 1. I think that's conservative. And again, a little bit like the sound thing, if you compare the AirPods Pro 2 to the first generation in terms of noise cancelling, the difference is night and day. And it's exposed something on the previous generation that I didn't really notice before, which is this kind of ever-present, very low rumble. Very hard to describe, but it feels like you're kind of encased in something and there's a bit of pressure building up around you. That doesn't exist on AirPods Pro 2. It's far more like walking into, if you ever have done, walking into a fully treated sound recording studio. Everything just goes very, very quiet, very calm, and there's none of that pressurized feeling. So basically, the best noise cancelling earbuds, which have always been the AirPods Pro, have got a whole lot better. And if you're wondering about telephone calls on the AirPods Pro 2, I did a test earlier with my girlfriend, started the call with the AirPods Pro 1. She said, "Oh, you sound a little bit muffled, a little bit croaky," which might just be my voice to be fair. I then switched to the AirPods Pro 2 and immediately she said, "Wow, that is so much clearer." Now, caveat, I've had my AirPods Pro 1 for 2 years. I've used them pretty much daily. I run with them. They've been wet. That might have an impact on the call quality. But again, Apple's claims that they've improved calling on them with the mics and with the noise cancelling and all that sort of stuff seems to be very well founded. So, should you upgrade to the AirPods Pro 2 if you already have a pair of AirPods Pro 1? I think this depends on a few things. I think if your existing AirPods Pro are suffering with battery life, which does happen with AirPods Pro after a while, the battery does tend to die like anything else. If that's happening, yes, do it. Equally, and a little bit like me, if you were just getting a bit bored of your AirPods Pro and the sound is a bit underwhelming for you, then these are such a huge upgrade. They might look identical, but whatever Apple has done inside these is absolutely, I'm going to say it again, game-changing. I think the most important thing is, if you buy a pair of AirPods Pro 2, something within them is going to absolutely delight you. That might be the sound, it might be the noise cancelling, it might even be the lanyard thing. Whatever it is, you will not feel shortchanged. So hands up, Apple, you completely got me here. I was completely disinterested in the AirPods Pro 2, but I was wrong, because this, alongside the Apple Watch Ultra, I think is one of the best things you've released this year. Oh, and while we're talking about the Apple Watch Ultra, if you want to see my first impressions review of this, keep watching.